Hey guys, I had a really productive week this week, although not a lot to show for it because taping, mudding, and skim coating, not that exciting. But what I did complete this week was a mini makeover in this here bathroom. I built and installed these floating shelves and this cool Bluetooth speaker light fan. If you want to see more about this fan, check out my blog post. Ooh, I will show you. I want to show you the section. It's quiet. It's so quiet. And then here's a little, cotton thing. Check that out. Good section. Super quiet. Okay, so on to the floating shelves.
I started out by cutting a 1x6 into 3 1.5-inch cleats. Then I used 1/2-inch plywood to cut my shelf tops, bottoms, sides, and front. The back is open so the shelf can mount on the cleats. I started out by attaching the sides to the shelf top. I used glue and 1 1/4-inch nails. I used my DeWalt 18 gauge finish nailer for this. The battery power makes it very handy and convenient. Then I glued and nailed the front strip on. I didn't try to glue and nail the sides and front all in one go because it's just too hard to keep everything in the right place and lined up while you get it attached. I find it's easier to kind of go in sections. Once the sides and front piece were installed, I went ahead and glued and nailed on the top piece. The glue forms a strong bond. The nails are just there to hold everything in place while the glue sets. 1 down, 2 more to go. Repeat the process and let everything dry. And then there's lots of sanding. Then I filled all of the nail holes and I used wood putty to cover the edges of the plywood on the sides and the front. This is my favorite wood putty. It's Czar wood putty and it's water-based, cleans up easily, works great. I love it. Then I sanded everything lightly with 120 grit sandpaper, focusing on the edges so they're not sharp. Then I wiped everything down. Then everything got a coat of primer. Luckily, I could stick my hand right up in the cavity and paint all the sides at once and then lay it on its back to dry. Since I used a water-based primer, after it was dry, I gave everything a light sanding to knock down that raised grain. Then it was time to paint. Of course, I have to dance while my paint dries. That's a given. Time to install, if I can get a handle on my tools. All right, I used a tape measure to find the center of my wall. I transferred a line all the way down so I would know where the right side of my shelf would be. Then I kind of played around with the placement, found the location for my top shelf, and marked that. I made another mark a 1/2 inch over to account for the side of my shelf. Then I marked the location of the studs onto my cleat. I went ahead and started my 3-inch cabinet screws before I put the cleat on the wall. Drilled the first screw in, used a level, and drilled the second one in. Then the shelf just slid right over the top of the cleat. Then I used 1 1/2-inch wood screws to secure the shelf to the cleat. I almost always use fasteners because I don't have to pre-drill and they countersink themselves. I installed the first 2 shelves and then measured the distance between those 2 so that I could transfer the location of the 3rd shelf and make sure that they were spaced evenly. And I just repeated the installation process, although on this one, I secured the shelf to the cleat from the bottom up so it wouldn't have any visible screw holes. Although, of course, all the screw holes need to be filled. A magic eraser gets all the pencil marks off the wall, and we're good to go.
So, that's how I built and installed these puppies, and I will catch you next time.